Let's see. I don't have no idea. I should perhaps see whether. Oh, I don't know. Is it working or not? Can anyone let me know? Hello. Well, I'm reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein at the moment. And it's a remarkable book, I have to say. I find it rather extraordinary. Let's see if the test is working. Okay, yeah, it's working now. So I can hear myself talk. Sorry it didn't work before. I'm in a remote place, and so my internet connection isn't very good at all. But that should be solved very soon, or maybe not. But in the meantime, at least I can speak to you, some of you. And I also should hope that some of you, or all of you actually, head over to the Halcyon Academy website and buy a course. Buy a course of the philosophy of the future. So I'm reading Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Frankenstein? Perhaps? I don't know. Well, so Victor, the maker of the monster, the modern Prometheus, foreboding title in it. Rather, well, it says that Shelley wrote the preface, and he says that that it has been supposed by Dr. Darwin that is not entirely impossible. That the human being shall produce very soon, well, a homunculus of sorts. So as you might know, of course, also Goethe's Faust 2 addresses this possibility of the homunculus explicitly, that has to live in a that lives in a in vitro. And so and what I find striking, though, in a test tube, that's the word I was looking for. What I find striking, aside from, I'm going to say a few things on Frankenstein in a minute, but so given that this is one of the main fever dreams or nightmares of English romantic literature, I do find it striking how nerve-wracked these people must have been, frankly. In every other paragraph, you read how much they were trembling and hopeless, and of course, how much their lips quivered and their hearts palpitated, and how much extreme anguish they were feeling, and how their vocal cords are shaking. And it's always very physical, so it's never the soul, the spirit. That sometimes the spirit, almost never the soul, but always the body. It's always the body. It's always something shaking or quivering or shivering, etc. And I find it, and so that they must have been totally disturbed basically all the time. I find that really hilarious, I have to say. I find it rather amusing, frankly, to read this. How nerve-wracked they must have been, because there's this, and I find it quite silly also, to be honest. And overflowing with the anguish which this remembrance creates. I mean, it's so, I don't know, it's almost superimposed, the whole language, a bit insincere, even plastic, if you like. Not hypocritical so much, but artificial. Wanting to feel something that isn't there, and also wanting to have your feelings to make up your entire being, to justify your existence almost. I also find it rather peculiar that even though Frankenstein is Swiss, I mean, Dr. Victor Frankenstein is Swiss, and the story is mostly set in Switzerland and Germany, some degree France, Paris. The chapters on, which is in, I think, the third part, on England are the most detailed, on England's history, always with a clear bend towards the Parliament and liberties, she says, for example, here. Anyways, that's besides the point. Now, I think the most important chapters are those where actually the monster, so-called, of the modern Prometheus gets to speak, and relates that he learns or tries to learn what it means to be. And this is where, Shelley really shows that she's a great author, and why this book is seminal, not only because it's such a unique story to begin with, but also because it's so poignantly written, how this creature tries to find out what it is. And the creature reads what? Reads Goethe's Sorrows of Werther, Plutarch's Lives, and Milton's Paradise Lost. So Paradise Lost, I think the mention of this is crucial. This creature of Frankenstein identifies himself more with Lucifer, with the fallen angel, than with Adam. And of course, as you know, this story is being read as, or has been read forever, as sort of almost a warning against God, a man playing God. But perhaps on a deeper level, and not so intended perhaps by Shelley herself, the story of the creature or monster of Frankenstein really relates something else. It's almost a parable of the creation myth. So that this God, or the Elohim, if we want to be very strict, and I just don't know enough why the Elohim all of a sudden are replaced by Yahweh, but in any event, why is it perhaps a parable for that creation myth? And that's what it is. It's a myth. That's all it is. It's no God who wrote these words, and that so that perhaps this God forsakes his creation too, and out of spite brings forth Lucifer, the fallen one, or Satan, to test that behated creature that this God has created as man. So perhaps Frankenstein is really just a parable for that awkward creation myth. Well, that's what I'm reading this summer. Let me know what you're reading. And in the meantime, do sign up. Head over to Halcyon Academy, the link to which will be in the description of this video, and buy a course. Martin Heidegger's Being in Time perhaps offers itself to read this summer. What are you going to do in August and September? Hi, to you. See you soon. I'm also going to read Dante's Inferno this summer, and a bit of Jean-Baptiste Vico's The New Science. I'm also going to read. Now get this is wonderful. Observations upon the prophecies of Daniel and the Apocalypse of St. John. Now guess who the author is? Who's the author of that book? A gentleman of the name Sir Isaac Newton. Yep, that's him. Mr. Gravity rides on the he-goat. If you didn't know, he also calculated the end of the world. Look it up. Science is wonderful. Okay, so this is what I'm going to read this song. What else am I going to read? Oh yeah, I'm going to read Benedetto Croce. And of course, Giordano Bruno. I have read Franco Volpi's book on nihilism. And I'm going to read... What else? Well, I think that's probably it. Well, probably enough. Well, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Frankenstein? Victor, the winner. Nah, maybe we shouldn't interpret too much of that name. Named after a place, apparently, that Shelley visited together with Percy. I might read Choran, Emil Choran, if you know him. If you don't know him, then what are you even doing here? The Trouble with Being Born. He's a bit too moralistic for me sometimes. It's almost like he's hoping for something with his pessimism. Where's my favorite one? So one of the... Oh, I thought it was the first one. I can't find it now, but I remember it anyways. Truly free are only the stillborn. Somewhere in here. Yeah, you should read some Philip Meinlander perhaps as well, if you want to really get into some... I mean, I don't like his proposal of let's be nice to everyone, obviously, but because that's just a cheap cop-out of what he actually has to say, because he cuts very deep to the heart of the ontotheology, let's say, on the yoke under which we have had to dwell, and where that leads to in our psyche, ultimately. Is this God not rather annihilating himself? I mean, Mailand is not that different from Master Eckhart. It's just that Master Eckhart sugarcoats what he has to say. And if you want to be nicer, fairer, more polite, you could say that. No, I'm not going to be polite. I don't care. So, thank you very much for listening to my ramblings. It seems that the audio is working, at least good enough. So I probably won't be able to do a video live stream. Maybe I don't even want to. But I'm going to be able to do audio live streams. So those I will do, and there will be the videos coming on Heidegger and Alexandre Kojève on the end of history and the final war. Yeah. Which he doesn't speak of, but which I think we can deduce from some of his writings. So thank you ever so much for listening and giving me your time. And hello, Jake and Marin. Hi, good to see you. Scientismology. Yeah, Choran has lovely prose. That's true. I think he wrote in French. He was Romanian. I think he wrote in French. I have some of his translations into English and German. So I haven't tried reading him in French, but I'm sure that it's lovely. Well then, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good night.